All right, guys, I'm going to give my final verdict bracket predictions here in a second, but I do want to go over the first four games that happened last night. So we've got the known defensive powerhouse, Fairleigh Dickinson, coming up big with a win against Texas Southern. They just made a bunch of threes, so they will be advancing. And they will face Purdue. Yes, their coach called out Purdue, and he was like, we can beat them and stuff like that. I would personally love a 16 over a 1. I would probably react to it and put a video up on it because it'd be so hilarious. But we know how ridiculously unlikely that is. And then we did have, listen, if I'm TCU, I am not happy. Because you've got an Arizona State team who is hot, who almost just dropped 100 points. I realized Nevada was on a 3-game losing streak. They were struggling, but that Arizona State team, the way they were shooting, if I'm TCU, them coming from the first four, I would not be happy. Arizona State, 98 points. That game was not competitive. They have a lot of momentum, and I believe they have opened as 6-point underdogs in the 6v11 game versus TCU. And here it is, the final verdict on the morning of the opening Thursday of the actual madness. So right now it's about 10 a.m., and how I kind of want to structure the tournament content. What I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of kind of having a vlog where I'll make all my predictions and then react to each game, and then at the end of the night upload it. It could be kind of tough because the video might not be uploaded till 1 or 2 a.m. based on how slow it renders if I'm recording kind of like a live vlog style with my iPhone. I don't really know how I want to do it. Or I was also thinking of, because you guys know how there's like a break in the action, like right when dinner time happens. Like there's a game at 3:30 or something, and then not another game until like 7. So there's like a window. I was thinking of like just making one of these standard videos reacting to the early games, and then tomorrow morning reacting to the later games, because I am East Coast time, and the last game starts at I think 10:05 at night. So certainly if you're on West Coast, although I guess it starts at 9 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, so no, that's probably not an advantage. But a lot of people, this is my official bracket. I came out with a video on, Sunday night. It does have around, I think, 80,000 views. And people were wondering, would I change Marquette? I just want to come out and say I'm not changing anything. I would recommend, if you do have Marquette in the Final Four, based on history, that is the region. What region is that? The East region, I would say, based on history, is for sure going to be a lower seed. So I'm going to talk about how right now I would structure my bracket. I'm not changing anything. I'm locked in. I'm going down with the ship, however this turns out. I made a video. This is what people expect, absolutely. But on the morning of, I just kind of want to talk about this. It is nice to see they've updated Fairleigh Dickinson. They're in there now, so if you want to pick them. But when it comes to this left lower East region, the teams I'm interested in that are lower seeds, because when we're talking about our Final Four, you're going to want either 1 or 2 1 seeds, and I'm thinking right now out loud how I would actually structure my Final Four. I think I would go 2 1 seeds, Alabama and Houston. Now, there is just a slight concern with Houston, how ridiculously slow-paced they are. They could be prone to an upset, and they also are dealing with that injury to Marcus Sasser, but all the analytics love Houston. It's one of those things to where, listen, if they get upset, it is what it is. I'm not going to outsmart myself picking against Houston, who's been the best team in the entire year. So this is the region. I would say the teams I'm looking at, possibly Kentucky, Duke, and Memphis, and maybe even Michigan State. In my opinion, it's going to be one of those teams. The stat that I saw was teams not ranked in the preseason top 25 that were 1 or 2 seeds, which Purdue fits that criteria. Marquette fits that criteria. Both of those teams, preseason A people, unranked. Purdue's a 1 seed, Marquette's a 2 seed. Those teams have 0 Final Fours. So with that in mind, and then I look at the 3 seed, Kansas State, kind of a weak 3 seed, Tennessee. We know the analytics love Tennessee, but do we really trust them with the way they've been playing to really go on a great tournament run? Probably not. I know a lot of people have Tennessee either losing the first round, or what I did is I went with Duke over Tennessee. And then on this region, this right region, so let's just say the left region right now, what I would say, it's a Russian roulette thing. If you want to go Memphis, I wouldn't fault you going on a Cinderella run. If you want to go Duke, I wouldn't fault you. They're very young, but remember, it's late in the year. All these kids have played 30 games. They're very deep. Duke overall, they have the depth, and they're facing a Tennessee team in the second round who really struggles to score. And I also wouldn't fault you for going with Kentucky or even Michigan State. The way they made these regions, why is Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State all in the same it's like these regions were AI generated. They really were. But I would consider an upset. I personally have Marquette, and I'm sticking with it. Absolutely. I've made my bed, but I'm just thinking out loud based on everything that I've seen. And then taking a look at the West region, I love this matchup. I love UConn versus UCLA. Now, who wins this game? I went UConn. And let me just say, the reason I went UConn is because I wanted a lower seed. I have 2 2s, a 1, and a 4. The thing that I would adjust, you know what? Let me go to just a different bracket altogether that has Houston winning. Or maybe UCLA. I just can't trust UCLA. I'm just going to go to a random one that I have. I've got my war chest of 25 different brackets, and I'm going to tell you how I would format this. So like this, for example, well, I've got Creighton in this is a weird one, but what I would go to Bama. I think Creighton could beat Arizona. I would have Bama coming out. Bama's just too overwhelming, but we do have to think about maybe karma with the Brandon Miller situation. Maybe. And the reason I say that is we saw Alabama right after that whole situation transpired. They immediately played worse. Now, I know they brought it back and they played a great SEC tournament and they won it, but I don't know. This Texas A&M Texas game scares me for Texas, by the way, that second round matchup, if it does happen. Xavier going to, what is this, the Sweet 16? Or is that the Elite 8? The Elite 8, yes. So I don't love Xavier. I really don't. But I think they've just got a great second round matchup against 2 teams that really aren't very good. And then I just don't love Texas. I could certainly see Texas beating Xavier, but currently I like the 2 1 seeds at the top. So I like the 2 1 seeds to come out, Bama, Houston, if I'm formatting a bracket right now. Now, of course, I have Arizona beating Alabama. Maybe they will. Maybe I'll get that right. But I'm just saying, realistically, if you are doing something for money, I would strongly recommend going chalk up top. And whether Alabama faces Creighton, Arizona, whoever it is, Houston versus Texas, Xavier, maybe A&M makes the Cinderella run, Penn State, it's very risky to go with Penn State because they could lose in round 1 to make a deep run. And then I would say the East region, that's the region you want your lower seed, you want your 4, your 5, your 6. In this particular case, I'm going with Duke beating Purdue. I could also see Memphis going to the Final Four as an 8 seed, but you've got your lower seed, you've got your 5, Duke and Alabama. And then, again, I love this matchup. I know a lot of people also love Gonzaga. That's the real kind of other one you could choose. It's one of these 3 teams. I do not see Kansas making it to the Elite 8 just because of the way everything's transpired. And I know a lot of casual people are picking Kansas left and right. It's crazy. Me personally, I'm staying away from Kansas. The Bill Self thing with him in the hospital, the fact that they won the national championship last year tells me they're due for an early exit. The analytics don't like them either. It all stacks up against them. My train of thought, it's 3 teams. It's UConn, it's UCLA, or it's Gonzaga. Bottom line, coming out of the West, one of those 3 teams. And here I have UCLA, and you can see how this is balanced. You have 2 1 seeds, a 5, and a 2. And listen, You'd probably have to go with Alabama facing Houston and Houston winning. It would be something like that. But that's just my overall thinking. And then when it comes to the games happening today, I do quickly want to go through this and kind of talk about it. So we've got the 8v9 game kicking it off. It's a coin flip. I'm going West Virginia there. Furman versus Virginia. I've got the upset with Furman beating Virginia. I am not high on Virginia. A lot of people are not high on them. Probably going to be a close game. Virginia plays at a very slow pace. I like the under in that game due to the start time. Utah State, Missouri. I am going with Utah State. Utah State, probably the best 10 seed in the tournament. Missouri, a very weak 7. It's basically a toss-up pick-em game there at 140. We've got two 16 seeds playing next with Howard and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Of course, we expect both of those games to be relatively easy blowouts. Charleston, San Diego State, that's your first 12v5 matchup of the tournament. I do think San Diego State holds serve there, even though I do have questions about their overall offense. Next, we have Princeton and Arizona. You know, that's a big one for me in my bracket. I have Arizona in the Final Four, so I'm going to need Arizona. Make sure they win that game. Next, you have Illinois and Arkansas. Arkansas, the 2-point favorites. I think the general consensus is Arkansas is very inconsistent, but they certainly have the talent. They've got 2 lottery pick guards. I would choose Arkansas. Auburn, Iowa. This game is taking place in Birmingham, Alabama. Iowa struggled of late. It's an 8v9 matchup. It's the 6:50. You guys can see kind of the window right there. 4:30 and then 6:50. There's a little break in the action kind of right around dinner time where the games really slow down and then they pick back up and they all start tipping off again. But I like Auburn to beat Iowa. Very close game, probably higher scoring. Oral Roberts, Duke. I think the general consensus here is Duke due to the way they've been playing. They're going to hold serve against an Oral Roberts team who has the longest winning streak in Division I. So could we get the 12v5 upset? Absolutely. Duke is only 5.5-point favorites. Colgate and Texas. I'm going to need Texas to win that game for my survivor pool. I've got Texas winning today. They need to win for me to stay alive in that. Boise State, Northwestern, basically a toss-up. I was originally in on Boise State. I'm staying with it, but I could see Northwestern winning this game. We've got another 1v16, so 3 1v16s on day one. It is the 9 o'clock window, kicking off with Houston and Northern Kentucky. You know, obviously, Houston expected to swarm Northern Kentucky. I think Northern Kentucky might not even get 50 points. Louisiana and Tennessee, maybe an upset vibe there, although it's a 9:40 start time. Penn State and Texas A&M, really fun game. Tipping off at 9:55. That's a late one. And then UNC Asheville and UCLA. I think UNC Asheville is an extension 16 seed. They're going to get throttled by UCLA. I like the over in that game. I like UCLA scoring 90 points. That is a 10:05 start time. That reminds me of like baseball games on the West Coast, 10:05 start time. But that's just kind of the overall final verdict when it comes to my bracket, my current train of thought. You know, good luck to everyone out there with their tournaments and with their brackets and stuff like that. And certainly, I will be updating my 25 brackets after every day. So tomorrow morning, I'll do a full list. I'll show everyone what percentile every single bracket is in after day one. And then we'll just continuously update them after that. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.